And everyone, this is MacLeod, this is the Asgaard SMP Season 2, and welcome back to episode number 10. We are standing here in front of the start to the mega base that we have been working on, and in last episode we got this thing all chained down, make it look like this floating rock is not just going to float away, but there's a problem here. Lots of this is starting to turn green as the copper is oxidizing, and we said in last episode we don't want that to, rotten flesh, we don't want that to happen. We like that nice color that's in the middle where it's kind of a hybrid of the brown and the green. Looks a lot better in that way, and we need to keep it like that. So we're going to need a bunch of honeycomb so that we can wax that up. So let's go ahead and pop over to the nether where we've already been working over the last couple of episodes and add on to that for yet another automatic farm. So I built this thing up here on the roof of the nether and AFK'd overnight. Let's see what we got here. This was probably about 10 hours, I would say, of AFK time. That's a lot. That'll probably be enough. I believe we placed probably around 12 stacks of copper blocks, which means that right around half of what we have here is going to be going toward that, and the rest is just going to be surplus. So that's awesome. Literally one night of AFK with this thing, and we probably have enough, but this is pretty sweet. We just ran along and collected a bunch of bees. That wasn't too bad. Got them all into the beehives out of the bee nest. That was a little bit more challenging, but then just built this up super easy. Took maybe 10 minutes at most, and it is absolutely soaring. And I bet if we peek in here, we barely even touched the chairs, so we could let this run for a very long time and continue to just let this rack up here. But anyway, we are on the roof of the nether, which is where we've been spending the last couple of episodes. So when we first pop out of that hole, we do have the bee farm here, and if we follow this torch trail for another like 150 blocks, here is the farm that we have been working on. So if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. It is absolutely worth the watch. We have this automatic gold farm and then the bartering system that is hooked up to it, because we are going to need a bunch of those blocks for today's build. So in last episode, we made a couple of changes after that, and we now have the enable bartering switch much lower. We don't have to like pillar up and do any weird stuff there. We also come on over here and we have labels on all of the chests, which is pretty cool. So we are going to need a bunch of crying obsidian. We are going to need a bunch of blackstone right here, and I think we're going to need some netherrack as well. So lots of stuff to be coming out of this farm. Pretty glad that I have that all built, because most of today's build is actually going to be fulfilled through this farm, which is super sweet. Multiple shulker boxes here. We have 1, 2, 3 full of blackstone and a couple different variants, peeking up into the next shulker box as well with some crying obsidian, nether bricks, and iron bars, and even more. Squeeze it into the last one with some deep slate, some amethyst, and a couple different colored glasses here. We have a pretty obvious color theme going on for today's build. Obviously, it's the black and the purple. I am so excited. It's going to look super cool against the green here from the rock. Obviously, green and purple are contrasting colors, so we're going to have to do some kind of blending, because that would be a pretty stark difference to have those right next to each other. But it is going to give a pretty cool appeal where we just have this like nice and serene looking area around it, and then we're going to have something hopefully kind of ominous looking in the middle. I do have plans for it already, and I think it's going to look super sweet. I haven't seen how it's going to look on here yet, but I am very excited for it. We're going to go ahead and start building that though, because we need to wait a lot longer before we can actually put any of that honeycomb to use on here. So hopefully just kind of hanging out in the area will be enough for this all to age far up enough where we can actually come through and hit it with an axe, get it down to the color that we want it, and then go ahead and oxidize it, because yeah, we can't be letting that happen. But also, I don't want to just do like part of it and then wait for part of it to be done. I'd rather just come through and do it all in one go. So who knows, we might even get that whole thing done before we actually get to do anything more with these chains. So real quick here, this is not F5 mode, but rather free cam mode. We can move on up here and take a look at the shape. This is pretty cool. We have that inner circle with basically a star or like a sun shape on the outside. It's pretty sweet. It takes up about maybe, what is that, like a quarter probably of the top of that. It's roughly center, but yeah, look at the scale of that, and it's just going to be super tall. I love where this is going already. Super pleased with it. Anyway, just wanted to show you that shape. Let's start building this thing up. Here we have now layer 1. This is looking super cool. We've got that shape extruded upward. We've got these like crying obsidian veins going through these like tentacle bits coming out the outside. Super happy with this. This was a pretty complex shape to get down pat, but I am very happy with how this turned out, especially if we look at it from a distance. It looks so cool. It looks so smooth, but yet we don't get that like kind of flat feeling, because we do have that crying obsidian really outlining how that looks, and even the deep slate kind of adding a little bit to that because it is a lighter block. and that is super good in my opinion. Can we land up on this ledge? Just barely. There we go. So we got this sort of catwalk going around up here. Pretty cool. That's out of the nether brick, and I love how that looks. Let's just use free cam and step back for a second. That purple with the lighter gray and then the black blocks below it make it look so good. I'm very happy with this. The goal for going on up here, the vision is that we have these like cascading cylinders. We can see already coming on out here that we have one cylinder around the base, and just like with the pagodas that we were building over the last couple of episodes, we want to make each layer smaller than the last but maintain the same sort of shape and feel so that we get this nice like progressive look all the way up to a peak. And if we just make smaller and smaller cylinders going all the way up, I think it's going to turn out a pretty sweet here. Lots of crying obsidian going on. The nether brick fits in with that so well. Loving how the purples are looking. But anyway, it's getting dark here, so let's just keep on going and add a couple more layers. And as it just renders in here, look at that. That is a great height. I think we do need to put a little bit of a topper on it, but I think for number of tiers, this is perfect. This is the fifth one. The fifth one is just a little bit shorter because then there's going to be some like spouts coming off of it, but I'm super pleased with this. Look at how that looks. Yeah. All right. I've never really built with purple before either, so I'm so happy that this is looking pretty good. This is going to end up being the entrance down as well. And that feels like a good height to just kind of rocket straight on in there, because wherever that dirt line is where we would be coming from. That's where the main village is, right here. And so it's just on the other side of the fog here, just inside of this mountain. So that feels really good. The height feels so perfect as well. I think scale compared to the size of the rock is really good. And yeah, like I said, stark contrast, right? We got a lot of darks and we got the purples and then we got some light greens around it, but we are going to do some work to blend this in to the terrain around it. But I think having those kind of like juxtaposed colors next to each other is really going to add a cool dynamic here. And with the shadow too, yeah, super pleased with this. And we could maybe get the sun just in there. Probably not. No, I don't think there's enough window for that, but whatever we do with the topper is going to be pretty cool, especially if we catch the sunlight in it pretty good. But let's go ahead and try some things out. I got some cool ideas for shapes. Let's go ahead and stick something on there. I feel like I'm just topping off a Christmas tree right now. And that's what I'm talking about. Take a look at that. That is trippy. Oh, that's so cool. Let me get out of this mode here and go ahead and take a fly up, because check this out. We got the top done, and this is pretty cool here. Gotta be careful not to hit those wings that are coming out here. But yeah, it's super sweet. We've got these things coming out just like we do at the bottom. We obviously have half as many instead of replicating it perfectly. But can we get high enough? This is... Give me one more. There we go. And if we look down, yeah, super cool. I'm really happy. It almost reminds me of kind of like a volcano, but the idea is that it's kind of like squeezed itself out of the ground and then come on up to the top there. And we're not quite done yet. I just don't have the resources right now to finish it, because I'm going to need something that's pretty expensive. But I do want to have this amethyst up here along with this magenta to make it look like the wings are connecting to like a power gem, because the lore generally is that this like dark Sidious kind of building here is powered by this extra like purple gem, which is why we have these like purple veins running through it and whatnot. And I've got some ideas to kind of integrate that to the landscape around it. But I do need one very expensive resource, which is beacons, and I don't have any. I actually have one. I lied. I have one, but we want a lot of them. I want enough so that I can actually just use them for decoration and not actually have to use them for the effects. But we want at least 4 up there just for decoration. Probably, is it 6 down here or 8? I want one between each leg coming out down here. So I think that is going to be 8. Yeah, so we're gonna need 8 more just for decoration down here. And then of course I actually want some beacon effects as well, so we might do another like 4 in the center that are actually working. I gotta see about that. It's not super critical to me that we have those like actually working ones up here, but I definitely do want the just the pretty ones that are just kind of keeping it all looking pretty cool. And that's at least 12, so we are going to need, yeah, quite a few. And we only have 1, and we're actually using it where I am have my mine set up so that I can have that haste 2 boost, and I don't want to take that away. So we do need 12 more beacons, which means that we are going to need a wither farm, and that's going to probably take quite some time. So I'm just going to leave this as is for now and get to that when I get to it. There should allegedly be a nether fortress somewhere in this vicinity, and I've just marked it out. I don't actually want to get a start on it today, but I do just want to check it out. We should probably bust through the roof here as well. But if I just use free cam to kind of check this area out, we are in a soul sand valley, which is good. That is where we want to be. for this farm. And oh, that's beautiful. Take a look at that. So we have this nether fortress here. There's obviously lots of wither skeletons that are spawning in it. Look at that. I mean, there was 3. There's 1 that was just there. That's just some particles. There's a bunch of them up here. This is going to be a really good spot for it, isn't it? And then there's tons of them all around here. I almost just want to just walk around here as is with a looting sword and just see how many we can get off the bat. That might not be a bad play, but this is definitely where we want to go for building that farm, so that will be coming in the future. Good to know that I've got this. It is just, however, about 2,500 blocks away from the spawn portal. And I did end up going through and whacking a bunch of the skeletons with the sword, getting enough skulls to fight off 4 withers so that I could make 4 beacons, and actually botched the first one. I tried to do it in the end and placed it off 1 block, so the wither got out in the end, had to fight it normally, and then the second one I placed too high, so that was a little screwy, and then 2 after that were correct, so I got some footage of killing those guys, but I definitely panicked during the first one that got out and didn't record that one, but we did get 3 kills on camera, which is pretty cool. But anyway, here's what it is going toward. Look at that big old rock, especially in the sun like that. That's super cool, and you can probably start to see where some of the inspiration comes in from here. Now, I actually used AI to generate some images, and I based it on the Tower of Sauron, so you can probably see a lot of that coming through. I have more images that are going to be for future inspiration that I don't want to spoil just yet, but yeah, there are some cool ones there. So kind of a fun use of AI using the model that is available in Photoshop. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a sleep real quick here so that we can fly on up there and see what's all going on, because it is pretty cool. We have that amethyst stone right there, and then some magenta glass going into it, coming out of the beacons. So pretty sweet. I love how that looks. We are obviously going to need a lot more, so we are still going to build that wither farm in the future and get a bunch more, because we are going to need lots of beacons to make this thing look pretty cool. Obviously these aren't lit up or anything, they're not on a pedestal, but just having the light right there I think is pretty sweet, especially since we're going to be flying up here all the time to get into the base and actually see those. I think that's pretty awesome. I wish you could use like tinted glass though on the outside, or stained glass rather, on the outside to make that beacon a different color, because having a purple beacon I think would have been super sweet. But anyway, fitting into the purple theme pretty much anyway, because we do still have the greens around it and it's not a big deal I suppose. But let's come on down here, because look at that, all of the chains are the correct color. Now I was going to end up I thought mixing the 2 middle tiers of the copper aging so that we kind of had both, but I actually just really like this color. It's mostly the brown with some greens mixed in, and I feel like it looks very chain-like, so super happy with that. Took lots of time to let that all age. Probably should have aged it elsewhere first and then come through and placed everything, but it is what it is. So I came over here with 12 stacks, I think, of honeycomb, and if we take a look now, we're down to 3.5. So yeah, I guess if you do the math there, then that's 8.5 stacks of copper that are in there, and then obviously 8.5 stacks of honeycomb in order to wax it all. But yeah, super happy with this. We have lots to do in the future yet, so if you aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe for more. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.